What's up, people? What's up, people? I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I had a great time. We're going to talk about it. A lot of things went down this weekend. Some insight. We hear from Humanity Unplugged podcast, giving you Trump versus USA, part 3, the final cut of it. This is it. 1 through 3 is out on all social media platforms. We like to thank you guys for sharing, subscribing, and just passing the word of mouth about what we're doing over here at Humanity Unplugged podcast. We're on all platforms, and I want to give a special shout out to India, a special shout out to Germany, a special shout out to United States in general, a special shout out to all my friends, family members, co-workers, enemies, haters, whoever you are, and you mention us in a negative or positive format, we thank you. This episode is the part 3. This is the trilogy, of course, 1, 2, and 3. This is the last one. And we're going to touch base upon Trump, diversity, equality, inclusion, DEI. We're also going to talk about the planes crashing and overall, what do that mean? Who's affected? Who are they trying to implicate? Is the blame for these plane crashes global news altogether? Next up on our podcast. So again, I'm your host, guys, Jermaine McCrimmon. Welcome to Humanity Unplugged podcast. Let's get right into it.
The latest developments out of Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. tonight after 2 major airplane crashes just days apart. Good evening, I'm Stephen Reels, and thanks for joining us here on the Fox 61 News at 10. Now, there's a lot to unpack tonight, but before we do, we just want to warn you that what you are about to see could be disturbing, so just keep that in mind. Here's what we know so far. 7 people are dead and more than a dozen others were injured after a medevac jet crashed last night just after 6. Mexican President Claudio Sheinbaum confirmed that 6 passengers on the jet were killed, and that includes a child who had just got done receiving treatment at a Philadelphia hospital with her mother on board. Philadelphia's Mayor Sherelle Parker says 1 person in a car is among those killed as well, and the death toll could rise in the coming days. Now, we do have different camera angles of when the plane came down flying out of the sky and slammed into the ground. On the top left of your screen is the dash cam video from a vehicle. It shows a big fireball after the plane crashes into the ground. Then on the top right is a door camera footage. Now, if you look closely there, you can see the plane speeding towards the ground very quickly. On your bottom left is the video of the massive crash site with debris scattered throughout the local neighborhood. And finally, in the bottom right is where all the first responders arrived on the scene. After this happened, a man who witnessed this crash spoke with reporters about what he saw.
You just hear everybody say, get down, get down, get down. And when everybody say get down, we all get down. But I just see the plane is getting lower and lower and lower. It nipped the house. When it nipped the house, it hit a couple cars. Boom! And to the plaza, and to the Dunkin' Donuts, everywhere. I've never seen nothing like that a day in my life. I have never seen nothing like that.
Philadelphia's managing director says there is a lot of unknowns right now about who was where on the streets of the neighborhood at the time of the accident.
We have a lot of unknowns about who was where on the streets of this neighborhood last night at the time of impact. So it will likely be days or more until we are able to definitively answer the question about the number of folks who perished in this tragedy and the outcome for those who are injured.
The cause of the crash is still under investigation. Now to Washington, D.C. Authorities say they expect to eventually find all 67 people who died in a tragic crash when a passenger jet collided with a military helicopter over the Potomac River late Wednesday night. Take a look at your screen. The remains of 41 people have already been pulled from the river as of Friday afternoon, and 28 of those have been identified. Yesterday, investigators found the helicopter's black box after finding the regional jet's box the day before. Investigators say the cockpit audio and other flight data could help them piece together how the crash actually happened. One key focus so far is on the air traffic controllers working at the time of the crash.
Now, people, we don't know exactly what went down. We still don't know with the second crash what went on. But I know you guys that's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify can't see the video, but it is up on the YouTube. It will be on YouTube. You log in with us over there, check us out. You'll see the video also of how it happened. You know, the crash is crazy. These things, when we leave our life in other people's hands, we do it not often, but we do it trains, we do it on the buses, we do it in cars, cabs, even walking, we take a risk. Now, to have that type of incident take place, two vehicles, two plane, a plane and helicopter come together and just total chaos is crazy. And then another one out in Philly slams to the ground. Who knows? Maybe the engines failed, cold weather. I know it might not be likely, but anything could happen, So it's unfortunate. A lot of innocent people passed this weekend. A lot of innocent people are no longer with us. So this is just news we got to go through, and we got to, somehow find a positive in it.
An FAA report showed that staffing levels were not normal when the crash happened.
We'll look at their training, their hiring, everything, what they probably ate that day.
The NTSB also says interviews are expected to take place over the next few days as investigators continue trying to download that data from the black boxes. Now we're starting to learn more about those killed. You can see some of those people behind me. Reporter Simone de Alba is in Washington, D.C., and she shares what she's learned so far.
Families across the country grieving as they come to terms with this tragedy, sharing their lives and their stories with the world. This is 28-year-old Samuel Lilly, one of the pilots on board the American Airlines flight. In a Facebook post, Lily's father said, quote, "Now it hurts so bad, I can't even cry myself to sleep. I know I'll see him again, but my heart is breaking." Ryan O'Hara, the crew chief on board the Black Hawk helicopter. He leaves behind a wife and a 1-year-old son. The D.C. midair collision is hitting the ice skating community especially hard. U.S. figure skating confirms the plane's passengers included several of its members who had ties to clubs in Massachusetts and Virginia. Members of the Skating Club of Boston also on that flight. Athlete Jenna Hahn and her mother Jin. Athlete Spencer Lane and his mom Christine. Coaches Vadim Nomov and Zhenya Shishkova were also on board. Wendy Jo Schaefer, a mother and a wife from North Carolina. She leaves behind her husband and 2 boys, ages 3 and 1. And 53-year-old flight attendant Ian Epstein, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. His family says he was full of life. He loved being a flight attendant because he truly enjoyed traveling and meeting new people. But his true love was his family. He leaves behind 2 children. Just a few of the faces, the lives, the families, forever changed in a moment.
When we look at this, it's really sad, man. It's really sad that that's what went on. Nothing we can say, but our prayers go out to the families, and hopefully they can have a somewhat of closure. And I feel like when you lose someone like that, it leaves a gap. It's open, it really is open because you don't have any closure. You didn't say goodbye, and when you don't get to say goodbye, it just hits differently. We're going to go on to the next video. That was enough for that was, we don't want to start our Mondays off like that, but we had to get through that.
We have more breaking news. Target announcing it is rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the company. In a memo to employees, the Minneapolis-based company says it will end its 3-year DEI goals, stop reports to external diversity-focused groups, and end a program focused on carrying more products from Black or minority-owned businesses.
Time out, guys. I want y'all to understand. Y'all just heard what he said. They're going to roll back dealing with entrepreneurs in the colored community, Black people, period. They're going to either push the products in the back of the store. They're going to stop promoting people of color in their business, in their establishment. And it's not just Target. Let's be clear. It's not just Target. McDonald's, Walmart, Lowe's, Amazon, Ford, Meta, and Target are the 7 companies that's rolling back, that's not dealing with us like that. So if they're not dealing with us, or they don't want to deal with us, why do we constantly order from Amazon? Why do we constantly go to McDonald's and get their fries? Why we love Wally World so much? Why we on Facebook all the time? I'm gonna cut back. That's just me personally. I think we all should take a look at ourselves and look at, why support people who don't want to give back in our community and put us on the map, because we constantly putting them on the map. Something we need to look into. Just my saying, my thoughts, my opinions.
The decision follows President Trump's executive orders almost immediately after his inauguration to end the government's DEI programs. NBC's Brian Chung joining us now with that. Brian, this is a pretty significant change of direction for Target, right? Walk us through the company's history with DEI and suddenly a turnaround?
Yeah, Tom, as you outlined there, Target rolling back a number of their DEI policies in an announcement today. And in a memo that a chief executive officer in the high ranks of Target sending to employees today, they described the reason for making these DEI changes as, quote, the result of the evolving external landscape. And you can imagine what that external landscape entails. It is, of course, the new president.
You heard that, guys? Evolving landscape, because we have a new president that says, we're going to do this. We're not going to deal with DEI anymore. Now everybody's following suit.
President wanting to roll back DEI within the federal government, and a lot of these mounting challenges against other companies that we've seen in the last few months with regards to their DEI policies. But I want to point out, this is a pretty remarkable turn for a company, Target, that is based in Minneapolis. As you recall, that is the city where George Floyd was murdered in 2020. And Target at the time was one of the first companies to really go out and in a full-throated manner defend their efforts to try to boost DEI policies. At the time, CEO Brian Cornell saying, quote, that could have been one of my Target team members. And then now here you have this announcement today, Tom, that they're rolling back those policies. It really does speak to the environment that we're in today.
Can you drill down on that? Because we have seen several companies kind of reversing course here, right? Are they reading the tea leaves for the culture nationwide, the pop culture or Main Street USA, or are they responding to pressure from President Trump?
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily directly a function of President Trump. You could argue that a lot of these pressures have actually been coming from the corporate sector and a lot of kind of activist groups, even in the months leading up to the election. But when you look at names like Harley Davidson, names like Walmart, names like McDonald's, these are companies that have pared back their DEI policies. But I want to point out, it's not the case at every company. Just yesterday, Costco had a shareholder vote where they voted down a proposal to pare back their policies. And Tom, that vote was 98% against changing and rolling back their policies. So very much an open battleground in the DEI space, at least in corporate America.
Yeah, I saw that Costco vote. That's really striking compared to the others out there that are reversing course. Brian Chung on the story as always. Brian, thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
There you have it, guys. Not everyone is cutting back. There are some few companies that still like our business and care about having us around. So that's a good thing. It's unfortunate that we went through what we're going to go through this constantly. So, hey, either we're going to adjust and stop supporting these people, or we're going to keep going through it. So I think we should cut back and stop dealing with companies that don't want to deal with us. This is our last video coming out. It's the Trump doubling down baseless DEI blame for crash. So these airplane crashes that just took place in the United States, Trump is really trying to turn things and state that it could be a minority issue. We don't have skilled and qualified people, where before he was second on his second term, he had put qualified and skilled people in traffic control. So now, since he's been out of the picture, things have changed and we have fallen by the wayside. In other words, we're not qualified now in these positions, and that's why these accidents have happened, or different colored people are in these uh, traffic control positions. As you've seen in these video I put up, the guy said, we even going to find out what they ate. We want to find out what's going on. They're doing a deep, thorough investigation on what's going on and why this took place and why it keep happening with the planes going down. Here we go.
It's not just about meritocracy, really, because it sounds like, based on what a lot of these folks are saying, the idea that there are not enough white people in certain roles is the problem, according to some of these folks pushing this.
Yeah, look, this is a completely bad faith effort on the part of the Trump administration and Trump's allies. And you know they don't care about qualifications, because you can just look at the qualifications of the white people who Donald Trump has nominated to lead departments and agencies. I mean, these are among the least qualified people that the Senate has ever considered. When you look at a guy like Pete Hegseth, who ran 2 nonprofits into the ground and had to be fired from those roles, who has, confessed to alcohol abuse and certainly has never done anything close to running the Department of Defense in a department of its size. When you look at Tulsi Gabbard, who, is literally someone who many people, I think, accurately describe as a national security threat, now poised to become the director of national intelligence. When you look at a guy like RFK, who's supposed to be over public health in this country, but doesn't believe in science and pushes dangerous conspiracy theories.
And doesn't know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid,
yeah,
according to his confirmation hearing. Pete, I don't understand why. Well, actually, I do. I get it. It's a distraction. It's a way to get us talking about it. But I also want to just highlight for a second the human consequences of this. There were 3 people aboard that Black Hawk. We don't know what happened on that aircraft, but the family of one of the people, this is our reporting at CNN, it says, at the request of the family, the name of the 3rd soldier will not be released at this time, according to the Army said. Though the 3rd soldier's name is not being released at the request of her family, CNN was told she was co-piloting the Black Hawk and had about 500 flight hours. So there were 3 people on the Black Hawk. One of them was a woman. That woman's family is afraid to put her name out there because they know that she will be blamed for this crash, despite there being absolutely no evidence one way or another.
I think this is very simple. Donald Trump doesn't like the appearance of not being in control, and he doesn't like the appearance or the implication that he may have been at fault. Now, you can like that or dislike that. It doesn't matter. That is the clear analysis and why he jumps to conclusions. But I would say, and brace yourself for a sweeping generational attack. I hear every baby boomer dad that I know when I hear Donald Trump say, it's just common sense, not speaking specifically to DEI, but any conclusion you would reach on something that happens. It's common sense. I already know what happened. I don't need an investigation. I don't need people to look into this. I know how it happened.
But he's the
and
president.
But that's why he's the president, is because he connects with that mentality.
He's got access to information I don't have access, or your dad, or your dad, or whoever's dad does not have access to the information he has access to.
So here's what I know. I know a number of people who voted for Donald Trump for the first time. They were so disgusted than what they felt was happening in the Biden administration. I talked to many of them this week. Instead of talking about the economy, I was fielding questions on whether or not the Trump administration wanted to stop commemorating Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month.
This is the directive at a lot of the agencies, but DOD today put out a memo saying no more celebration of history months.
Or
So-
Holocaust
so-
Remembrance
Or
Day
Holocaust
or
Remembrance
MLK
So
Day.
I was
yeah.
fielding all of these questions. So when people said that they voted for Donald Trump because they were concerned about, the price of eggs and all of these type of things, because of Donald Trump's own doing, we're having to have this conversation about DEI. DEI, for many people, and I call them the woke right, it has become a stand-in for being Black and unqualified. And what I would like for the Trump administration to do, Susie Wiles, I love her, never met her, want to meet her one day. I want them to ask the team, what was our message coming out of this week? And if they say that they felt as if it was successful, then we're going to have a very long 4 years.
Can I make a provocative argument here? What if Donald Trump
I think I know what you're
also
gonna say.
won because of the people who think that Black people and trans people and women
Yes.
are taking things that belong to them? Isn't it possible that he actually
Sure was a
won for
factor.
that reason, and that they don't think that this is a messaging, change of course, but
But
this
it
is
doesn't
this is
represent the
course.
majority of
But
those who
but
voted
they
for
could
Donald
very
Trump.
well think
But yes.
that this is the course that they are supposed to be on.
Yes, I think this is what economic anxiety has sometimes been euphemized to refer to, that people feel like they're losing their status in society and maybe their ability to climb up the socioeconomic ladder. And the easy scapegoat is the Black and brown and people and women who are taking their place, who are robbing them of their opportunities. One thing I want to add to this discussion, besides the career effects on people of color and women and other groups, other underrepresented groups in government, among other positions, who may suffer because of the comments that Trump made about DEI causing these plane crashes, is that Trump surrounds himself with lackeys who have historically been shown that they are motivated to sort of backfill and retrofit evidence to fit whatever his predetermined conclusion is. So if we want to prevent tragedies like this from happening again, I would not trust whatever investigation they put together, because Trump has already determined that the cause of this problem is DEI. If there's something else that's lurking here that could put people at risk again, we may not find out.
I actually do. I've talked to a lot of aviation experts this week. I have confidence in the NTSB. That is a gold standard agency in this country, and honestly in the entire world of aviation. But I mean, to her point, I think there are questions about whether this is going to be a witch hunt for the evidence to support this claim. They are going to be hunting down the people who fit the DEI narrative in order to prove, oh, he was right all along.
Guys, I can't make it no clearer than that. As you see, they trying to make it like it's a color thing. It's sad, but that's what Trump going to end up trying to turn it into. But on another note, guys, I had a great weekend. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. I went to an NRA expo, and it was a lot of different nationalities there. And one thing I noticed being there, we all had the same thing in common, and it was getting money. Everybody in there wanted to get money. Everybody was in there selling something to get something. Transfer of currency. I provide a service, you pay for the service, everybody's happy. America is built off that. We provide a service, you pay for the service, you move on. I had a great time. Those who know what NRA is, you'll know where I went and how I enjoyed myself. And I want everyone to experience that. There's a lot of things out here that we need to get familiarized with, and also bring it into our everyday life, better understanding. I didn't mention this in this episode, but Trump stepped to Canada, and now the tariffs rises. It's going up to 25% on Canada. Canada, whether you know it or not, we get our energy from Canada. We get a lot of things from Canada. produce. We get a lot of things that help the American people come up out of Canada. And by him putting this on them, we're going to suffer as the American people. So we got to be aware of what's going on and get ourselves prepared for a rough stretch just in case it turned left. So, guys, I don't want to hold you. Have a great weekend. I'll see you again on Tuesday. This video will probably be up. Today's Monday, maybe Wednesday. I'll put it out. I just put out part 2. Today actually is Monday, the 3rd. So it'll probably go out. Part 2 will probably come out tomorrow, if I'm correct. I think part 2 will go out tomorrow on Facebook. But I do believe my part 2 is already out on YouTube. This part 3 will be up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify within the next maybe hour or so today, Monday the 3rd. You guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys again. And please stay blessed, stay aware, stay healthy. Until next time, guys, take it easy.